Yeah, I thought we were going to go to the moon. I thought we had it, you know. But then this is what happened. What was it? It was Heat Wave '98 in Dayton, Ohio, I think it was. And see, I made a little bit more. I made more money than everybody else, but I wasn't supposed to tell anybody that. Well, they handed my check to one of the girls, I won't say who, on accident. And she looked at it, she goes, wow, I got a raise. You know, it was for a couple thousand, you know, like $10,000. That was more than anybody else. Most anybody else made was like 1,000 or something. She goes, oh shit, that's not mine, that's Sabu's. So she told everybody what I made. So Sandman and Van Dam and a few other guys was gonna quit unless they got more money. So I paid them out of my own pocket to keep them from quitting. Well, Sandman quit anyways and went to WCW. I paid him a couple $1,000s out of my own pocket just so he wouldn't quit. And he quit anyways.
Did he take the money?
He took the money. He took the money and quit. But I was just trying to keep it together. Not that, you know, Sandman is and was special, but I wanted to keep that formula what brought us to the dance, and I wanted to continue to dance. I don't want to, you know, bring these, or help, you know, go with these guys to Vietnam and then leave without them. I wanted us to go together and leave together. I never took it personal, you know. Like I said, he wasn't the first one to do that, and he wasn't the last one to do that, or you know, to go another way than come back. You know, it's business, it's life. I didn't have no resentment towards him, you know.
Was he always taken seriously as a worker, or did he have to kind of earn that?
He had to earn it, yeah, of course he had to earn it. See, that deal got fucked up. For the first trip over to the FMW, I didn't double cross FMW. I went to New Japan because I wasn't getting the proper respect from my boss Onita, but I fucked up. So I took a bigger offer to go to New Japan with Onita's blessing and my uncle's blessing after I already made the deal. Okay, so 3 years later, I asked for Onita's forgiveness. He forgave me. I said, well, "Can you please do business with us?" With ECW, that is. So I was the mediator. He wouldn't do business with ECW without me because he didn't trust. He knew about Paulie. He didn't trust anybody in ECW. He trusted me because although I jumped companies from FMW to New Japan, he still trusted me. You know, because I didn't hide it from him. I said, I made a deal with New Japan. I got to go. I'm going to make more money. He said, God bless you. Go do it. Okay. So 3 years later, I said, would you help us out with ECW? He did. So me, Dreamer, the Dudleys, we all went over there. And then the second trip, Paulie was being a jerk. And so FMW goes, we like the Dudleys, but they already been here. Can you send another tag team? I said, yes, of course. I said, Paulie, they want somebody else besides the Dudleys. Nothing personal against the Dudleys. It's not because they're the shits or nothing. It's that they want a different team. Paulie says, no, deal's off. Either the Dudleys goes or there's no deal. FMW goes, well, we're not paying for the Dudleys to come. If they come, the deal's off. I said, how about if how about if the Dudleys come for free? They said, okay, if the Dudleys come for free, they can come, but we still want another tag team. So I paid the Dudleys out of my own pocket. $2,500 each plus plane tickets. It cost me $10,000 to get the Dudleys over there to keep things smooth with Paulie. Paulie goes, well, I'll reimburse you. He never fucking did. And if it wasn't for that, it would have been blown out of the water way before that. But I paid $10,000 just to keep things going. I didn't even make $10,000 for going, but I paid it anyways. I paid the Dudleys and their airfare and all that just to keep things going. And then things got sidetracked, and then Paulie double-crossed them in another way.
Why was Paulie so insistent on them going?
Because he wants to be the boss. He don't want them to say, hey, we want this guy and that guy. Paulie says, you're going to take this guy and you're going to take that guy. You don't choose, he chooses.
But it's another territory, though.
It's the God complex thing, Messiah.
Right. Huh.
He was, you know, Paulie had a funny way of doing things. You know, he was a genius and he was a devil too. You know, if things weren't done his way, he might let it go today, but he's going to get you back tomorrow or the next day. He's going to get you back. Before it's over with, he's going to come out on top in his mind or one way or another, you know. Even if he's not really coming out on top, as long as he thinks he's on top, he's won, you know. And I like the guy. I still love the guy. It's that some of the stuff, the way he did business, it was he took it personal and he handled it personally and childish instead of handling it like a businessman or doing it the way business should be done.
And that's what happened with FMW.
What's that?
And that's, in essence, what happened with FMW when he didn't.
That was just one case of it. There's other cases where he's done the same, where I paid guys, or I'd smooth things over, or I'd actually lie to guys and say, you know, Paulie said everything's cool, just keep doing it. And Paulie would be saying, fuck that guy, and I'd pay. I paid Lou Spicoli. Lou Spicoli wanted a raise, and I said, Paulie's not going to give you a raise. He goes, well, I want a raise. I'm asking for it. I said, Paulie, can Lou Spicoli have a raise? He goes, no. He's lucky I don't fire him. I'm sorry. He's lucky I don't fire him. So I go to Lou Spicoli, I said, you got a raise. I gave him $150 a night more out of my own pocket. But he thought it was coming from Paulie. Paulie just thought he ain't getting a raise, he's still sticking around. I gave him a raise out of my own pocket. Just so, because, you know, I owed Spicoli for getting him fired from FMW, and he deserved more money, but Paulie was such a jerk about it, he didn't want to give him no more money. And he deserved more money. We all did, you know. But I was making more money than everybody there. Not that it was a lot of money, but it was most money than anybody there. But I was just trying to keep the boat floating so it wouldn't sail away, you know.
Was that your deal with Paul, that you were going to be paid top of the card money?
No. I didn't want to get paid more than anybody else. I wanted to get paid what I wanted to get paid. You know what I mean? It didn't have nothing to do with the next guy. I don't want more money because I want more money than that guy. I want more money because I want more money, you know, or I want something else because I want it, not because someone else has it.
Now, at this time, we're seeing merchandise, too. T-shirts were really big for ECW at the time. Are you getting a piece of that action?
No, I was promised, but I never got it. I was promised a piece of everything, and I never got it. For 7 years, I never got it. You know,
when you say everything, you were promised a piece of merchandise from anybody.
T-shirts, everybody's merchandise. You know, because everybody else's merchandise, they got a small percent of it. They're promised a small percent of it. Paulie got the major percent of it. Paulie and Todd Gordon. And then I was supposed to get a piece of that. You know, because they really couldn't pay me enough to make ECW my #1 priority. For one, we didn't run enough shows, and two, I was making more money in Japan. You know, so to compensate for it, they gave me a little more money, guaranteed, and then I was supposed to get a percent of all the merchandise, from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling. Way back then, it was like 6 months into my stint with ECW, when it was still Eastern Championship Wrestling. They made that promise back then. You know.
And never honored it once.
Never gave me a penny extra for nothing. Actually, I got kicked in the ass for it.
What do you think that would have amounted to as a total?
I would say a couple $1 million over the 7 years. I would say at the least $1 million. At the most, probably $3 million. I don't know where the money went to, other than probably was squandering it or burying it in a shoebox or something. But they made a lot of money through videotapes and T-shirts, through the internet and the mailing orders, not from the arenas. You know what I mean? Not from people showing up buying a T-shirt, from people ordering them online or whatever. You know, they made a ton of money that way, a ton of money.
Well, all that
and I'm sorry, no. But we were all promised this, that I was promised more before anybody else was promised, and not that I should get it before anybody else, but I was made the promise before they were. You know what I mean? We should all get it. We should all got some of it. But they made the promise to me. He made the promise to me first that I would get a percent of it. That's how I would be compensated for the small paycheck, or I'd make it later on with the royalty money, which I never got a dime of.
It's so that you'd stay exclusive,
yeah,
or as exclusive
or
as
mostly
you could.
exclusive, yeah.
Right.
Because one time I was supposed to do a tag match. It was me and Taz versus Benoit Malenko versus Public Enemy, and I was double booked. It was April 8th. I can't remember what year. April 8th, '96, I think it was, and or '95, one or the other. And I got booked in Japan the very same day I was booked in ECW. So I thought I could make both shots. I was going to wrestle in Japan and then fly home immediately and go to the ECW. Well, things didn't work out, and I couldn't make the show in ECW. So I figured, not much harm done. I'll make it up next week. Well, Paulie went in the ring and motherfuckered me to death. And by the time he got done with the speech, everybody was motherfuckering me. And then a couple months later, Benoit, Malenko, those guys, they sold out before, they sold out for the rest of their life. I only sold out for one night, not even sold out. I was trying to survive. Like I was working for the ECW for about 3 years, and I wasn't getting very far ahead. New Japan offered me $6,000 for one match. That's the most I ever got paid at that time for one match. So it was hard for me to say no.
What was the difference in the paycheck that night between what you would have got?
I was supposed to make $750 with ECW compared to $6,000 with New Japan, and I was going to try to do both. New Japan came first because it was April 8th in Japan. And when I fly home, it was April 8th in the United States. But I got in the States about midnight. The show was over. So, and I even called Paul. I said, "Damn, I'm here, but the show's over." He goes, "Fuck you. You'll never work here again. You go fuck yourself." I go, "Well, fuck you too then. Who else work there?" So I figured, he'd blow off some steam. I worked there, next week, and then I ended up going to WCW for 3 months, and then I came back. But the thing what Paulie didn't understand was I wasn't born with money. My uncle was a rich wrestler, a rich man. I wasn't. My family wasn't. So $6,000 was like $1 million to me. But whatever.
Did he ever concede that he understood why you did it?
He thinks I did it personal. I didn't do it personally. I did it because I wanted to live a better life.
And he never discussed that with you after that.
What's that?
He never discussed it with you after that he kind of could see why?
No. After 6 months, it was water under the bridge, and it was just forgotten. But it hurt my feelings pretty bad. I'm not a pussy, but I hurt my feelings when he gave a speech in front of those people, and he didn't tell them. He goes, "You people made this guy a star. He wouldn't be nothing without you people." And by the end of that speech, he could have said it was Jesus, and they would have booed Jesus. But he goes, "And that guy was Sabu." And they go, "Well, fuck Sabu." He could have said it was anybody. They would have said, "Fuck him." You know what I mean? Because he built them up so much. I don't know if you've seen it. He riled those people up so much that no matter what name he said at the end of that speech, they would have said, "Fuck that guy," and it happened to be my name.
Right.
So I was hurt that all I did not necessarily all I did for him and for the company and for the people, but all I did in general. And then he turned on me like that, like a bitch. Which I forgive him now, but it sucked for the moment. But then I stayed with New Japan for a year after that.
Right. Was it ever the same for you coming back there after that?
What's that?
Was it ever the same for you coming back after
No.
that? Did it really sour?
Yeah, it was sour. It had its good points, but it was a little sour. That was before even Van Damme was there. Van Damme came shortly after that. When he first wanted to book Van Damme, he goes, "I called your buddy Robbie V, and he gave me an attitude." I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, I told him I want him to come in and put over Mikey Ripwreck," and he said, "No." I said, "Of course no. He's better than that." And he goes, "Little Robbie V, he's too good to put over Mikey Ripwreck?" I go, "Yes, he is too good to do that." And then 6 months later, I said, "Okay, let's give Rob a chance, but first, before you want to beat him, let him win one match, and if you don't get over, kick him the fuck out of here. But if he gets over, run with it." He got over and he ran with it. But before that, 6 months before that, he wanted to beat him like he's a lump of shit. And if he would have, it would have killed him.
Right.
So we didn't see eye to eye at first, but then Paulie was man enough to say, "Hey, you were right. Let's run with him." And then Van Damme is who he is today.
Right. Well, a lot of complex feelings you have about classic ECW days, and
it's love and hate, and but mostly love, I guess. But it might sound bitter, but I'm not bitter, not really. I wish I could have did better financially, but I don't regret. The only thing I regret, I don't regret. I regret breaking my jaw. I regret breaking my neck. I wish that it didn't happen. But am I going to harp on it? No. I wish I could have made more money. That's the only thing I really. But I'm not griping about it. I just wish I could have.
When you look back at those days, do you look back with a smile, or is it this stuff that
I'm proud of it. Hey, USWA was around for 20 years. Nobody ever says, "Hey, remember USWA, this match, that match?" But ECW is only around 7 years, and they're still talking about it. Like you brought up the Terry Funk match. I was at a thing last week in Ocala for Dory Funk, and I was doing autographs. People go, "Hey man, I seen that match with you and Terry Funk." That's 15 years ago. Yeah. They still talk about the match. They don't talk about Jerry Lawler's match no more, or fucking the USWA bullshit no more, or WCW anymore. But they still bring up the ECW shit. We made an impact on the world, and it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I did get paid. I just wish I could have made more money.
Well, that's why we're here today, because of that impact.
Well, I appreciate it.
And that's why they're there today. So
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.